Georgia Dome in Atlanta. There's the story. The Seattle Seahawks with 17 first quarter points leading the Atlanta Falcons 24-3. Bill McAtee along with Charles Mann. And Charles, we came on today talking about the two quarterbacks. What a first half for Jon Kitna.
He's done everything right. He stayed within himself. He didn't try to force any of the issues. And, you know, hey, they're winning because of it.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first half. Kitna with the early touchdown pass on the slant to Darrell Jackson, the rookie. Then a rookie mistake made by Doug Johnson. George Kuntz returns it for a touchdown. Ricky Waters after the long completion to Darrell Jackson with the 1-yard touchdown run, but really a half to remember for Jon Kitna.
It really has been, and here's the halftime stats, and it's all one-sided really towards Seattle, of course, the score, but really the passing yards, 228 to 90. And then the time of possession, believe it or not, the second half, the Atlanta Falcons begin to settle down a little bit. Doug Johnson begin to move the team down the field, and you know, the points off of turnovers also. You know, the Seattle defense is much maligned defense, being 31st in the NFL, the last. They've been able to score on defense, and that's been interesting.
Seattle with only 18 yards rushing. In fact, the longest rushing play of the game was a scramble by Doug Johnson of 8 yards. Doug Johnson, we expected this to be a learning experience. So did Dan Reeves, and he's shown some nice poise, had some good moments, and had some not so good moments.
And the not so good came early in the game.
Rude reception from George Kuntz with that 27-yard interception return for a touchdown that gave Seattle a 14-0 lead. There's Derek Vaughn, the deep man for Atlanta, has 2 returns for touchdowns this season. Dell's kick taken by Vaughn, a yard deep. He brings it out, has an opening. Leaps across the 20 to the 23. Fabian Bowens, a wide receiver, made the tackle. And that's where the Falcons will start, 1st and 10. Now the numbers stack up for the two quarterbacks. 94 yards for Johnson. Key interception. Kitna 228 and the touchdown pass.
And the no interceptions for Kitna. Every game he seems to find a way to make at least 1 or 2 mistakes. In this game so far he has not.
From the 23, Anderson stacked up at the line of scrimmage. The statistics show that the Falcons have overwhelming success when Jamal Anderson carries the ball 20 or more times. We talked to Dan Reeves yesterday. He said, you know, I read that stat myself and thought about just giving it to Jamal 20 straight times and then just sitting back and waiting for the victory.
Yeah, he talks about scripting the first 15 plays of the game. He said, well, maybe I'll script the first 20 and they'll all be runs to Jamal Anderson so we can get on track here. You know, what the problem is, they get behind in games and you get away from, you know, the running game.
Seattle, most first half points of the year, 24. Johnson stands in. That got away from him. It was intended for Terrence Mathis. Well, Jamal Anderson has definitely carried the load. In fact, the second leading rusher for Atlanta this year is Chris Chandler. Rivers carried only 8 times. Smith, that's now 7. But it's been all Jamal Anderson on the ground.
89% of their rushing yards.
3rd and long for Atlanta from the 24. Mathis in motion. Straight back goes Johnson. This time that was intended for Mathis. Incomplete, but a flag is down. Mike Charlton, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, had the coverage.
That's a late flag, and it's deep in the secondary.
It's going to be against Seattle.
And Holmgren told us that he was going to let
holding number 23 defense, 5-yard penalty and a first down
against Ike Charlton, one of the young players Mike Holmgren wants to take a long hard look at before the end of the season.
And I was reading some articles about him, and He talked about he's going to be playing on an island, and he's going to be the only one out there on that island. And on this, you don't get voted off this island. Either you play well and you stay in the game, or you don't play well and you get thrown off.
Goes to play action. That's complete. Kelly, the tight end, and that's another Atlanta first down.
And actually, Ike Charlton could have been called again for holding on defense. You know, you got a 5-yard area where you can bump the receiver. I don't know if you can see him on this replay, but he's grabbing a hold of the receiver down the field. He was at the top of your screen there as Reggie Kelly makes a nice play.
Kelly caught a 37-yard touchdown pass earlier in the year against the Rams. His first touchdown reception in the NFL. Anderson with stutter step picks up 3. Cortez Kennedy made the tackle. That'll bring up 2nd and 7.
And here's Ike Charlton. I'm sorry, here's Ike Charlton. There's the holding, right? This is the second play. This is the one he didn't get called for. You know, he's out there covering on that island, and he doesn't want to get beat. That's something you don't want to have happen to you. You also don't want to get 15-yard penalties either.
2nd and 7 for Atlanta. Goes the toss. Johnson keeps it, guns it. Oh. Reggie Kelly had 2 chances to catch it.
Hot potato. Ball hit him so hard he didn't know what to do with it. And tried to take off without. Oh, there we go. A little fire in the quarterback. Here's a 23-year-old man trying to get the team fired up. Especially after you throw a nice ball like this. Great play action fake, wide open. And he took his eyes off the ball because Anthony Simmons, the outside linebacker, kind of got in his vision and threw off his concentration.
3rd and 7. Dwight is the motion man. Straight back, Johnson. And that is intercepted. And here goes Cortez Kennedy.
They call him Tez.
Well, Tez was lumbering up the sidelines, and that was unfortunate for Doug Johnson. Tipped and landed right in Cortez Kennedy's arms.
You know, Doug Johnson's release on this ball is a little bit unique, and he's throwing these balls high over the middle. You don't ever want to throw it high, and I think his size may have something to do with it. And that play was for Reggie Jefferson running a crossing route, and Reggie Tongue was covering. Sean Jefferson, excuse me.
So another turnover for Seattle. We've had trouble with turnovers just early in the year. They've had a couple of good weeks. They give it to Ricky Waters. He picks his way inside the 30 down to the 27. Henry Crockett, strong side linebacker, made the tackle. So another turnover and another scoring opportunity for the Seahawks. Ricky now 24 yards away from 10,000.
He only needed 46 coming into this game, and you know he's eaten up a lot of the offense for the Seattle team, but a lot of it has been his big plays have come in the screens.
The next milestone for Ricky after 10,000 will be trying to pass Otis Anderson into 12th place on the NFL's all-time rushing list. That's incomplete. Intended for Atula Mealy, the tight end. Ray Buchanan, left corner, was in the area.
And both of these quarterbacks have come out after halftime. Maybe you know, had a little bit too much to drink in there at halftime. A little water, a little orange slices, and really haven't gotten back focused on the game.
Glad you qualified what was on the menu there.
Yeah, you know, a little orange juice, orange slices and a little water, and then relax a little bit. You lather it up before the during the game, and then all of a sudden you cool off. And third quarter is so important in football games.
3rd and 7, sitting on the rollout and throws it behind Darrell Jackson.
Maybe he had something else. So at halftime. Does not look like the same guy. So.
Bring out Ryan Lindell. On 4th down.
That's why I'm telling you, it's not how you start the game, it's how you finish the game. You know, you got to play 60 minutes. You can start off great, and this Seattle team has started off great in a lot of games.
Lindell is 7 of 8 this year from outside the 40. Both of his attempts from 50 plus. This is from 46 yards out. And it's good. Plenty of leg from Ryan Lindell, who was signed earlier this year before Seattle's Monday night game with Kansas City. He's been a good find. 11:42 left in the third. Seattle out comfortably 27-3 on the Atlanta Falcons. Seahawks trying to run it out, finish even at 8-8. That's taken by Derek Vaughn at the 5. Vaughn gets it across the 20, spun down at the 23 by Isaiah Kesevinski.
That's a surprise.
Back on special teams. Leading tackler on special teams for Seattle.
He's easy to keep up with. Either if he's on teams, he makes the play. If he's not on teams, he didn't make the play. Great open field tackle, too. Think this guy's not emotional? You think he doesn't love the football game? Loves it.
Well,
and look at Dad.
Enjoying it. We want to finish out the story on Isaiah Kesevinski because there's more to it. Some of it involves his father. But 1st and 10 for Atlanta. Seattle coming on the blitz. They pick it up. Christian close to a first down. Doug Johnson, the rookie free agent out of the University of Florida, has gone the distance for Atlanta.
Willie Williams, the right cornerback, was coming on a corner blitz, but he waited too late. You've got to time it when you're coming. He was a wasted player rushing the quarterback.
So 2nd and 1 after a pickup of 9. Anderson. And he'll have the Atlanta first down. Anthony Simmons made the stop. Well, CBS Monday, a night of comedy. It begins with the King of Queens, then the new hit Yes Dear, followed by Everybody Loves Raymond, Becker, and Tina. One Last Time live. That's all Monday here on CBS.
You know you've arrived when all they need to do is say your first name. We all know that's Tina Turner, the ageless one.
Something can be said of you. If you say Charles, we know exactly who they are. Johnson with time, guns it. Sean Jefferson still on his feet. And into Seattle territory, down to the 43. Willie Williams made the stop.
Somebody on this Atlanta Falcons team is trying to make plays.
Pickup of 23. And that'll help Doug Johnson's numbers.
And this is just a nice little, Jefferson just runs a seam route, tries to get in the open area of the zone, and then tries to run after the catch.
1st and 10 from the 43. Anderson powers his way to the 40. George Kuntz, who has a touchdown today, made the tackle.
The Seattle team is now trying to send safeties and corners, trying to rattle the young Doug Johnson. Kerry Joseph, the strong safety, came on that play. Once again, he timed it too late and was ineffective.
Giants leading the Redskins. Tampa Bay easily over Dallas, 20-0. Cincinnati.
Hey, look at Cincinnati.
Big day for Corey Dillon. They're going to run the screen. That's incomplete, intended for Christian. And again, hands to the helmet for Doug Johnson as yet another receiver drops the ball. That's the 8th drop.
Now, your fullback is not a player with great hands and catching ability. You can't throw the ball behind them. Doug Johnson actually threw that behind him, and that's why the hands go to the helmet. He knows he missed an opportunity.
Bob Christian is 3rd on the team in receiving.
Yes, he is.
Came in with 36 catches. As the Falcons face a 3rd and 7. Good snap. Johnson. Seattle on the blitz, and they've got a turnover.
That's right. Sinclair, Michael Sinclair gets the fumble. He actually catches it. Willie Williams puts the shot. I kept talking to you about what was going on. They were sending corner blitzes and safety blitzes, and I was talking about them coming late. They finally got there on time.
Well, they had 5 turnovers last week, did Seattle, and 3 today.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by American Century Investments. Yahoo Sports, fresh sports news 24 hours a day. And by Saturn, now with 2 distinctively different car lines, the L Series and S Series.
Seattle's defense rebounding after giving up 301 yards rushing last week against Denver, the 3rd most in Seattle franchise history, but the defense has played well today. Ricky Waters, big hole left side. And Waters is down inside the 25, down to the 22. Ronnie Bradford finally made the stop.
He's close to those 26 yards he needs to go over 10,000.
I think he got right at 26. That might be exactly 10,000 yards.
All right, and our great stats work. It is.
10,002. So a milestone for Ricky Waters. And he'll get to add to that total. Pickup of a couple down to the 20. Patrick Kearney made the tackle. Let's take another look at the record run.
You'll see this a lot tonight on the replays. Follows his fullback, Max Strong, to the hole, and then look at him in the open field. Great running by Ricky Waters. Running Waters. The gates have opened on the dam.
Well, he came in today needing 320 yards to move into 12th place, past Otis Anderson on the NFL's all-time rushing list. Interesting of the people ahead of him, only Jim Brown. Barry Sanders played in as few seasons as Ricky has. This time it's on the screen, and he gets it inside the 20. Chris Draft pulled him down. He has been a workhorse for Mike Holmgren this season.
Mike Holmgren told us he is their best player. I mean, not one of the best, not along with the best. He is their best. And, you know, he comes to work every day. He brings his lunch pail every day. He's going to work.
3rd and 6 for Seattle from the 19. Poirier's the motion man. And that's complete. Another Seattle first down. Derek Mays made the catch. So once again, let's send you to New York and check in with Jim Nantz.
Well, early reports had Cordell Stewart out with the knee sprain for the rest of the game. All he does is come back, start the second half with a 9-minute drive, and look at Mark Bruner out-wrestle Calvin Branch for a touchdown. Steelers within 3. Let's go back to Billy Mack and Charles Mann.
All right, Jim, thank you. How about the resurgence of Cordell Stewart over the last couple of weeks in Pittsburgh?
How the quarterback goes is how your team will fare. Cordell Stewart finally settling in.
Ricky battles to get back to the line of scrimmage. And you talked about Ricky coming to play. He comes to play every week. 110 consecutive starts. That's 2nd among running backs. Only Walter Payton had more at 170.
That is amazing. That right there is the stat that really shows what kind of a person Ricky Waters is on the football field.
2nd and 10 from the 12. Little shuffle pass. It's close to the 10.
That play only works when you have a defense, a very aggressive defense. Atlanta Falcons defense isn't that aggressive. You get the defensive ends to get upfield, and then the shovel pass really works. But if they don't get off the line of scrimmage, it'll never work.
That is not a play that you typically will see close to the goal line.
Right, because, and especially with John Kitna's problems that he's had around the goal line, turning the ball over. I wouldn't have called that.
3rd and 9 from the 11. He's trying to set up the screen to Waters, and Marty Carter was all over it. Carter in his 10th year out of Middle Tennessee State, so that'll bring on the field goal unit.
John Kitna, that was a better series for him. Much more sound at quarterback.
Clock continuing to run inside of 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
Holmgren had a few words to Kitna.
And Lindell, perfect so far. This attempt from 29 yards out. And that's good. So 3 field goals for Ryan Lindell. Seattle extends their lead. It's 30-3.
That's a bad call.
On every frequency, and he makes no sense.
They were going to knock you in the mouth.
Sundays on CBS.
4:19 left in the third. Seattle with 13 points off of turnovers. Seattle's highest point total this year, 34, in a losing effort against the Rams in week 2. And 4 points away from that. And that is taken by Derek Vaughn. Vaughn gets it out across the 20. But Seattle has done a pretty good job against the Falcons' explosive return team.
Isaiah Kaczynski took on the wedge that time.
And the wedge lost.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by True Value, where help is just around the corner. And by Nike Shocks, Boeing thoroughly experienced and explained on Nike.com.
The Falcons will start 1st and 10 from their own 24. Falcons came in 29th in the NFL in rushing, and for Dan Reeves' run-first offense, that has been a disaster. 54 yards rushing today in this effort against the Seahawks. Maurice Smith has checked back in at running back for Atlanta. They give it to Smith, the rookie on the right side. He has a nice hole. Powers his way to the 34. George Kuntz and Sean Springs made the tackle.
All right, this is the wedge buster right here. Number 58, Isaiah Kaczynski, takes on the wedge. 3 guys, and what happens? You're right, the wedge loses. Stops them. You know, you don't ever, on special teams, you don't ever swap out 1 for 1. That means take out 1 player. In his case, he took out 3. And look, he loves it.
And that's what we saw last night. Talked to him for about 20 minutes and smiled like that the whole time. Right side, Smith. Another big hole. Smith gets it to the 44. Springs and Joseph made the tackle.
Seattle's defense is giving up 148 yards a game as we look at the work of Mr. Kaczynski. 6 total tackles, 4 on special teams. You think his dad is enjoying it?
There's David Kaczynski. Johnson checking off at the line of scrimmage. Toss back to Smith. It's 1 man. Gets it back to the line of scrimmage, and that's where Anthony Simmons is waiting. Well, for a complete breakdown of all the playoff scenarios, including updates at the conclusion of each game, click on NFL at cbs.sportsline.com. So 2nd and 10 from the 44. You folks have already left the Georgia Dome. Atlanta falling behind early. Seattle came out with 17 points in the first quarter. Johnson on the delay to Smith. Smith close to midfield. Into the 49.
Mr. Michael Sinclair and Anthony Simmons. 2 interesting stories. Anthony Simmons has 8 tackles on the day to add to his 110 coming in. And Michael Sinclair, the left end, his wife had a baby this week on Monday, and there were some complications. So Mr. Sinclair didn't practice this week. He didn't practice all week long, and he's out here playing extremely well. In fact, Holmgren didn't expect to see him on the plane. He shows up to the plane, and he's playing a pretty solid game.
3rd and 5. Johnson to Tim Dwight, who hangs on. A nice little move, ducking underneath somebody, and gets it to the 40.
And Kerry Joseph, the strong safety, put a nice little lick on Doug Johnson.
And that'll move the chains.
Doug Johnson is showing how tough he is. Watch this hit after Doug Johnson releases the ball by number 28. Boom, right there. And Tim Dwight is very exciting when he gets his hands on the football.
Caught a 52-yard touchdown pass against the Saints in Week 8. Play action, Johnson. And that is complete. That time Reggie Kelly able to hang on and makes a nice catch.
Covered by James Logan, number 56, the outside linebacker, and he's in for Chad Brown, giving Chad Brown a little break and seeing what Mr. Logan can do. He's had to cover a couple of tight ends that have gotten away from him a little bit.
Pick up of 3. That'll bring up 2nd and 7. This will be the final play of the 3rd quarter. Smith again, the lone setback. Play action, chased. Johnson showing nice presence, but a bad pass. And that was a poor decision. They're going to rule it incomplete. Sean Springs was there.
And I think Sean Springs actually pushed Terrence Mathis out of bounds, and he may have even stepped out of bounds and then tries to come back in and make a catch. And actually, you can't be the first one back in. They're both out of bounds.
Well, that's the end of the 3rd quarter with our score. Seattle 30, Atlanta 3. We'll return to the Georgia Dome right after this word from your local station.
11 minutes of uninterrupted news, weather, and sports tonight.
As Charles Mann mentioned, Michael Sinclair didn't practice this week. His wife Betty gave birth to their 3rd child on Monday, a little girl named Mary. No complications. But mother and daughter are fine now. Michael joined the team for the trip on Friday. Of course, had the 63-yard fumble return for a touchdown last week against Denver. So the Falcons start the final quarter 3rd and 7. And the flag is down. The pass was intended for Terrence Mathis. And Anthony Simmons had tremendous pressure on Doug Johnson.
Yeah, he's starting to take some licks now. And he's reaching for that right hand. It probably caught a helmet.
Preliminary signal is against the Seahawks.
I mentioned earlier that here's the shot that Anthony Simmons, and he
illegal
almost
contact.
goes for the head.
Number 24 of the defense, a 5-yard penalty and a first down.
And they call it on Sean Springs. So first down for Atlanta. Charles, I noticed he was untouched. Did that ever happen to you during your career?
Yeah. You know what? That shot right there reminded me of last week in Brock Heward's shot that he took that bruised his kidney.
Brock Heward didn't even make the trip from Seattle. Play action. Johnson has some time. And complete. Pickup of 9. Reggie Kelly.
Reggie Kelly is having his way with James Logan, the outside linebacker.
They were fighting the entire way.
He's getting his baptism into the starting role here right now and finding it tough to stay up with Mr. Kelly. And they are pushing and shoving and hand checking.
Johnson now 14 of 27, 162 yards. And the 2 interceptions. Smith, right side, inside the 20, down to the 19. George Kuntz made the stop.
George Kuntz did not make the stop. George Kuntz got in the way and got run over. That's what happened with George Kuntz. You play in this game.
Not nice to say about George.
Well, you know, and I respect him, and he's a great player. But you play in this league long enough, you're going to get those kinds of shots. And watch what happens here. George Kuntz had all the intentions in the world to come up and make the play, but the play was made on him.
I think he had the intent. He's had the long career in Green Bay, and we mentioned originally signed by the Falcons as a rookie free agent. Cut the final cut down in training camp that year. Johnson, touchdown. Reggie Kelly. Second career touchdown pass in the National Football League for the rookie Doug Johnson. 19 yards to Reggie Kelly.
Here's a look at it. Reggie Kelly releases, runs the seam route right up the seam, which is the open area, the weak area of the zone. And he's untouched. It's a nice throw. It's interesting, Doug Johnson's 2 touchdown passes are 2 tight ends.
Morton Anderson. Extra point is good. So the first touchdown of the game for the Falcons. 13:48 left. 30-10 Seattle. 10 plays, 76 yards on the scoring drive. It took 5:31 off the clock. And that's taken by Charlie Rogers, who takes a knee in the end zone. So they'll bring it out to the 20, and that's where Seattle will start 1st and 10, leading the Atlanta Falcons by 20. Brock Huard didn't even make the trip here to Atlanta, so the Seahawks are thin at quarterback behind Kitna. There's Travis Brown, who's just elevated from the practice squad. He's never thrown a pass in the NFL, and the emergency quarterback is Jeff Fiegels, the punter. If Brown has to play, Mike Holmgren says they'll cut the playbook down about 2/3. If Fiegels gets in, look for a lot of running plays.
He said he will not throw the ball at all.
Although during warm-up, he was tossing it down the field 40, 50 yards. He has a pretty good arm. There's Jeff Fiegels.
I saw him hit the tight end one time in the back with the ball. He did.
Well, the timing was off, sure.
Yeah.
Punters aren't used to doing that. Going out and throwing. But hopefully it won't come up. But Jeff Fiegels is the emergency quarterback. 2nd and 8 for Seattle. Fourier's the motion man. Short drop for Kitna. The slant to Dawkins. And he gets it out to the 29. Marty Carter made the tackle for Atlanta. Lineup tonight on CBS. It all begins with 60 Minutes. Then Touched by an Angel, an all-new episode, and the CBS Sunday movie, Papa's Angel, starring Scott Bakula and Eva Marie Saint. All tonight on CBS.
Do you know anybody over at the Touched by an Angel crew?
I don't.
You know a lot of people, and I'm trying to get on there. My kids and I watch that all the time, and trying to find a way to get a cameo.
Send a memo over to him. Kitna complete. That's Max Strong, the fullback, and he has the Seattle first down out of bounds at the 35.
Who do I send it to?
We'll have to get some names from our producer Ken Mack, who's very plugged in Hollywood.
A Harvard guy plugged in Hollywood?
Shocking, I know. There's a Harvard guy who's plugged in. Isaiah Kazavinsky. I want to finish the story about Isaiah because mentioned the 9 letters in high school, an honor student. He wanted to go to Notre Dame. They didn't offer him a scholarship. The last minute, he took a trip to Harvard, said he loved it. He played there 4 years. His mother, Margaret, had passed away tragically in an automobile accident just before he left. But Isaiah says she's always with him, and he graduated from Harvard. He was at mini camp with the Seahawks. He couldn't go to the graduation ceremony, so his father, David, put on the cap and gown, accepted the diploma for his son. It was such a proud moment for the family. A lot of people rooting for Isaiah Kazavinsky, including Mike Holmgren. He says he thinks Kazavinsky can be a player. There's his dad doing a little radio interview. Probably back to Seattle. But Mike Holmgren says he's going to make a pretty good player in the National Football League.
You see those red marks on around his head? I don't know if that's from breaking a wedge or having his helmet on too tight.
Probably a combination. Ricky Waters.
See those
first down
right around there. They're just all these little red spots. My helmet one time gave me a black eye. It was so loose on me.
Is that right?
It's true. I hit Walter Payton, and much like George Kuntz, you know, ended up taking the shot instead of giving it.
Walter Payton probably gave a lot of people black eye.
Well, you know, I know I was one of them.
You know Ricky Waters can do that. He can deliver a blow. Just over 10.5 minutes remaining. A nice drive from Seattle, although Waters stacked up at the line of scrimmage there. That'll bring up 2nd and 10.
You think Waters is aware that he went over the 10,000-yard mark?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that's why on that play he didn't reverse field, give a little ground to get around the corner. See, if he'd have gave a little ground and got around the corner, he might have lost some of that he got. You don't want to hit the 10,000-yard mark and then go backwards and don't end up with it at the end of the game.
65 yards rushing on the day for Ricky. 2nd and 10. Continues to run. Mays the motion man. And they give it to Ricky Waters. Close to midfield. Mark Semino pulled him down. Ricky out of Kansas State. Generally plays in the nickel.
He's getting some action today. Dan Reeves is taking a look at him. He normally plays behind Jeff Kelly. And there you're looking at Travis Hall. What a nice guy. We talked with him. Another Alaskan player. Number 98, left tackle for the Atlanta Falcons.
Grew up about 2 hours outside of Anchorage. He didn't have organized Pee-wee football when he was a kid. Kitna, trying to run the screen. Give it to Ricky.
Semino on the tackle.
Semino was all over it.
They knew. I mean, you know, you break down this Seattle Seahawks offense, and you know the #1 play you've got to stop, and the #1 player is Ricky Waters, and the #1 play is the screen. And they run it so well, you know it's coming, and yet a lot of times you can't seem to stop it.
Typically, the defensive philosophy against Seattle is to make John Kitna beat you, and so far today, that's exactly what John Kitna has been able to do. Tim Dwight is the deep man for Atlanta. Here's Jeff Fiegels in his normal role as punter. Dwight calls for the fair catch, makes it at the 14. A 36-yard punt, no return. 8:32 left. 30-10 Seahawks.
On CBS is sponsored by the world's most popular ATVs, Honda, best on earth, Zales, the Diamond Store, and by Subway, showing the world how great a fresh-made sandwich can taste. Subway, eat fresh.
Back in the Georgia Dome, where we expect Doug Johnson to once again run the hurry-up offense, having led the Falcons into the end zone on their last possession. Maurice Smith is back in at tailback. Motion Mathis, and they give it to Smith. Big hole on the right side, and just tripped up by Sean Springs. Otherwise, he might have broken it. Well, Monday on CBS, legendary superstar Tina Turner takes the stage in her last concert tour ever. Tina, one last time live. Monday on CBS. So 2nd and 1 after a pickup of 9. And the rookie Maurice Smith, 8 carries, 37 yards. It's Smith. He fights his way to the 27. And our friend Isaiah Kazavinsky made the tackle.
I tell you what, he is always around the football. Look at him right here as he sits, takes on the offensive guard, and makes the tackle at the same time. That is a tough guy.
4-year starter at Harvard, the only player to do so in Clemson's history. 1st and 10. Johnson trying to set up the screen. He gets rid of it to Smith. A flag is down. Smith up the sidelines, but I suspect they'll bring this back.
And what a nice hit put on Doug Johnson by Sean Springs. They are bringing it back. Doug Johnson will be sitting with a couple of ice bags on him after this football game. The good thing, I guess, is he's been getting hit by defensive backs that are, you know, he's about the same size.
Tripping. Number 74 offense. A 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
They call it on Ephraim Salam, the right tackle. See if we can pick it up, Charles.
And here is the trip. If you can't make the block, stick your leg out there. They didn't get him for going down low and doing a cut block. They got him for swiping him with his leg. When he couldn't make the block, he stuck his leg out.
So they'll repeat first down, 1st and 20. They'll take it back to the 18. Clock running, 6:40 remaining. Mathis in motion. Short drop. They throw the slant, and that's incomplete, intended for Shawn Jefferson.
And Anthony Simmons came up and put a nice lick on Shawn Jefferson.
Well, both of these teams hungry for talented young players, and they'll have opportunities. That's the draft order if the season ended today. Seattle with the Joey Galloway trade to Dallas with 2 choices in the top 10, 9 and 10. Perhaps they'll lose one of those if they sign a free agent. But Mike Holmgren excited about his drafting opportunities. Johnson, they're going to try to run the screen again. That's incomplete.
Michael Sinclair does a great job of breaking up this screen. Anytime you're rushing the quarterback on the end and the tackle cut blocks you, you should stop and sit down. And that's what he did. He sat down, put his hands down, stopped right in his tracks where he was trying to be cut blocked. And Bob Christian was going to get the screen pass. And Michael Sinclair did a good job of breaking that up.
And look at that. Pittsburgh has come back against the Raiders. 21-20. Meanwhile, 10 drop passes for the Falcons. And that's not Doug Johnson's fault. Plenty of time there. Guns it. Tipped away. And an Atlanta first down. Jay Bellamy, the free safety, made the tackle.
And if you're having trouble with your quarterback getting a lot of pressure on him, the best way to get out of that is have him roll and throw the ball after he's rolled out a little bit to buy a little extra time.
Pickup of 26.
And here it is. Little swing, rolling one way and throwing with authority right down the middle. And Tim Dwight makes a nice play.
1st and 10 from the 44. Play action. Johnson. That's complete. Jefferson has some room. And down to the 30.
Nice throw and catch covered by Jay Bellamy, the free safety. He falls down, and Jefferson picks up another 10 or 15 yards. This kid has a nice arm. Doug Johnson can throw the ball down the field. In the first half, all you saw was a little short passes, controlled passes. Dan Reeves didn't want to take him out of his comfort zone, especially after the first series where he throws an interception. But he's looked really good.
Pickup of 26. Probably too late, but Johnson has looked good in this possession. 233 yards on the day. Lofts it out. Incomplete.
Oh.
And he had Brian Kozlowski, but overthrew him.
And James Logan again covering. I tell you, the tight ends have had their way against James Logan. Here's an ISO releasing off the line of scrimmage, and Logan tried to stay on him. He gave him a nice little end move and then broke back outside. And all you need is a step. And he had him another touchdown. Had one last week and could have had another one this week. Reggie Kelly, the other tight end, has already gotten a score.
So 2nd and 10. Chad Brown, 94, the 3-time Pro Bowler on the sidelines. Christian in motion. Johnson under pressure, and he's sacked. Lamar King.
Lamar King has 2 sacks on the day.
And that is 6 sacks on the season.
That's correct. Yeah. Right there with Chad Brown. It's no fair for Chad Brown. Chad Brown saying, hey, I didn't play very much in this game. Now you tied me in sacks. Number 92 there makes a nice move going right around the corner of Travis Carledge. What do you say his name?
Claridge.
Claridge. I knew I said it wrong.
Rookie out of USC, 2nd-round draft pick. That's the 3rd sack for the Seahawks. Falcons gave up 6 sacks last week against the Raiders, 49 on the year. That's the 2nd most in the NFL. On 3rd down, Johnson, and that's a fumble.
And I tell you what, Michael Sinclair is Johnny on the spot.
Anthony Simmons tripped him up. Johnson fumbled the ball, and the Seahawks have recovered. So 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles on the day for Doug Johnson. 4 turnovers for the Seahawks after 5 turnovers last week. 4:06 left. The Seahawks have it again. It's 30-10. Seattle. Well, Atlanta has challenged the fumble. There's Dan Reeves. Despite trailing by 20 with 4:06 left, they'll take another look at it, and so will we.
And the ground cannot cause a fumble. The ground did not cause that fumble. He was holding that ball, trying to get away with one hand, and right before he hits the ground, it falls out of his hand. Anthony Simmons did not knock the ball out of his hand. It just slipped out of his hand.
Well, that's the kind of year that Anthony Simmons has had all over the place. Michael Sinclair with 2 fumble recoveries. It's been a learning experience for young Doug Johnson. Talked to him yesterday about coming here to Atlanta, and he said, you know, I went into training camp. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to make the team. Let's listen to Ron Winter.
Atlanta has challenged the ruling on the field, but there was a fumble. After reviewing the play, the ball came out before the runner was down by contact. It's a fumble. Seattle recovers the ball. First down. Atlanta is charged with a timeout.
And there's Doug Johnson. He said, I knew I would make the team. I just wanted to get a chance to play. Young man who definitely believes in himself.
And I think he's talking about his hand. It looks like his hand is bothering him. That's the hand that he would be holding onto the football with, his throwing hand.
Now tonight on 60 Minutes, a police officer who blew his career by blowing the whistle on dishonest cops. That's tonight on 60 Minutes. So John Kitten and the Seahawks will take over. Just over 4 minutes remaining. Try the left side with Ricky Waters. Nothing there. Jeff Kelly and Brady Smith combined to make the tackle. Now we discussed the AFC. Here's how things look in the NFC. The Vikings clinched with the win Thursday night, 11-2. And a good team may not make the playoffs. Well, there's some pretty good clubs there.
I think Washington may be out of it. They're losing against the Giants right now, 9-0. They lose this, they'll be 7-6 on the season and pretty much over.
Warner back today for the Rams. Right side, Ricky keeps his feet. And into Atlanta territory again. Kelly and Smith make the stop.
And then you look at St. Louis. Isn't that interesting? You said you don't believe one of these teams may not make the playoffs, and I think we have a graphic that shows the leaders of the division last year and where they fare right now, where they stand right now, and it's amazing the shifting, if you will. Minnesota, Philadelphia, and New Orleans locks.
3rd and 8. The delay, plenty of room for Ricky, and another Seattle first down.
You think he still wants to play? He's enjoying this.
Bradford and McBurrows made the stop. Here's what you mentioned earlier. Divisional winners last year and the leaders this year.
Colts, Jaguars, Seahawks, Redskins, Bucks, and Rams.
No duplication.
No. It's amazing. They wanted parity in the league. You got it.
Clock running as we approach the 2-minute warning. Mike Holmgren. It'll be a nice trip back to Seattle for the Seahawks. That hasn't always been the case. Seattle on its way to 5-8.
On CBS is sponsored by the world's fastest shaver, Panasonic. Sonic Shaving. Get up to speed. And by Rolaids. Rolaids. R-O-L-A-I-D-S spells relief.
Ricky Waters, 21 carries, 79 yards, 7 receptions for 58 yards. As he has given the Seahawks a first down at the 37 of the Falcons. Right side, that's the rookie, Sean Alexander. Henry Crockett made the tackle. Well, who's the standout college football player of the year? Get the answer Saturday on the Solomon Smith-Barney Player of the Year show.
Second.
The SEC championship game was played here yesterday. Florida beat Auburn 28-6. Ricky's happy. He's had a nice day. 79 yards, but over 10,000 in his career today. Doug Johnson, by the way, was on the sidelines watching his old team yesterday, looking for better things today, but didn't materialize. Again, it's Sean Alexander finding his way inside the 35. There's Ricky. Smiles all over the place for Seattle. Coming up on a doubleheader Sunday here on CBS. Some of you will see the Colts and the Jets, others Cleveland and Jacksonville. With the resurgent play of Fred Taylor. Jacksonville has looked tough over the last few weeks. 3rd and 7. Clock continues to run. And give it to Max Strong, the fullback who played his college ball at the University of Georgia. Henry Crockett made the tackle.
This is the part of the game that you dislike, when they're running out the clock and they're pounding you with the football. In fact, that was the last play of the game.
They'll let it run out, and the Seahawks will go to 5-8. The Falcons' disastrous season continues as they fall to 3-11. Two of the great coaching minds in the National Football League, Mike Holmgren, Dan Reeves, both with their work cut out for them.
I think they're talking right there about their golf offseason. You know, Dan Reeves talked to us for a while about playing golf. I was impressed.
Ricky Waters, and there's young Doug Johnson. John Kitten on the day, 25 of 34, 252 yards, and a touchdown at key for John Kitten, and no interceptions. So for Charles Mann, I'm Bill McAtee. That's the story here in Atlanta. 30-10. Seattle will send you to Jim Nance in New York right after this message.